My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. That's criminal summoning by the to-be disbanded Ontario Police Department, who are still stalking. They are still stalking with a population of people, which is the unprecedented basis to remove a police department masquerading as law enforcement, who are actually engaged in criminal monitoring and further into murder and kidnapping, and who suffer severe mental instability as a department that is a threat to the public and a threat to national security. That's the entity engaging in that. While this is the same location where the entity is talking about helicopter. That's literally the tangible evidence of the police department that is a gang stalker. Doing so while they're monitoring on my device where I am currently processing the podcast. And that's the same P.O.C. by that agency that has engaged in what is going to result in federal prison and mandated mental examinations for these who are mentally ill and wearing police uniforms while they're engaged in stalking. And they're engaged in 24-hour stalking, and then they're engaged in what is monitoring the evidence of them stalking, and then that evidence then motivates them to commit more criminal acts of conspicuous stalking while they're monitoring in furtherance of murdering who is their federal prosecutor. That is myself. This is the P.O.C. That's criminal summoning by the Ontario Police Department. This is the pattern of conduct that Lopez is being federally prosecuted for as a terrorist leader. You're not just being prosecuted, as I document the minions of that department stalking, demon by demon. The terrorist leader themselves, who are over any gang stalking department, are being investigated, are being federally prosecuted, responsible for that criminal system. This is the entity that's doing so. I'm at the same venue where the entity is via podcast. I captured the evidence of stalking, monitoring, harassing, targeting while the investigation is underway by helicopter. That's that same department, gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It's currently 1:28 a.m. Alrighty, 2:41 a.m. The mentally ill, this is the military, this is the U.S. government, this is the police department engaging in criminal summoning, using police vehicles to engage in stalking, using planes, hovering over the Mule Cart Smokehouse. This is no takeoff. This is blatant stalking at 2:41 a.m. And no takeoff is conducted in this manner. This is still no takeoff having been conducted while they're hovering throughout the city, coming over here stalking me. And the entity's doing so plane after plane after plane. The mentally ill are obsessively stalking. They are monitoring. And under the law, when you are monitoring, you are stalking. While you're monitoring at home, you're stalking where you live. You are being federally prosecuted while the government is showing mental instability that you share, while you engage in and facilitate what is the mentally ill pattern of conduct. This is what is triggering martial law. This is the entity that is going to be shut down as an airport, and this is the airline industry that's being federally prosecuted as the people. This is the Ontario Town Square. It's currently 2:42 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alright, this is P.O.C. You'll see the images that I just took at the previous block. This is street for street, turn for turn, block by block. There's no airport takeoffs over here. There's no flights coming from different cities hovering through Ontario over Euclid Avenue. There are no arrivals. You would be arriving to the Ontario Police, the Ontario Police are stalking. That's why that came out. You see the entity stalking by the airport. That's because the Ontario Police Department are stalking. This is true, but what I'm speaking to is my location, and at Rosewood and Euclid, where Amazon Prime was on this street stalking yesterday evening. And I'm documenting the pattern of conduct while the people of the state are maintaining, not yesterday evening, while I'm documenting the entity gang stalking by Amazon Prime, and I'm documenting on this street before Amazon Prime gang stalking. In fact, this is what I published yesterday on this street at Rosewood, where they are engaged in surveillance. In fact, the neighborhood was stalking, engaging in surveillance in their cars. And Amazon Prime, a demonic company that's engaged in terrorism, stalking, like the airport is showing about the entire city, and Amazon is a part of that entity, is engaging in what is light activity. And this is the evidence that I published yesterday, which was occurring on what is, I believe, June 13th, 2026, if I recollect the date correctly. Nonetheless, I published it last night. And then maybe 30, 40 minutes later on my walk back to Ontario, Amazon Prime is engaged in stalking, harassment while they are psychopaths hostile. I'm mad that you are documenting me stalking you, and I am a demon under a blood oath, and so I'm going to continuously gang stalk you while psychopaths are operating Amazon Prime vehicles
stalking in Amazon Prime Plains. But that's what I documented in Upland at Olive and Euclid. This is the location, the video evidence that I referred to in that video of Amazon Prime stalking. This is serving to prosecute Amazon Prime, both with regard to monitoring my evidence and also speaking to a pattern of conduct that Amazon Prime is engaging in at Rosewood and Euclid, where the people of the state are engaging in that pattern of conduct, as I documented under the fake sign that was setting in alignment to this very street, where the entity was delivering packages, which is criminal stalking in the path, in concert with the entity that's stalking by commercial airline planes. Remember, as I continue walking south down Euclid Avenue, Southwest Airlines, that's maintaining flight here, is also maintaining flights from what would be ostensibly the same terminal. Terminal 4 doesn't have any flights over Rosewood at Euclid and over the Ovid Family Community Library. In fact, Southwest Airlines is letting you know that Amazon Prime is gang stalking. It's the same entity. Okay, no commercial planes are hovering over the neighborhood, but for criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder. Southwest Airlines is engaged in the conspiracy to murder, as is Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime acts yesterday stalking on Euclid Avenue in Upland, where I'm documenting the pattern of conduct, which with regard to what is evidence that's being published on the internet. The gang stalking corporations are serving to prosecute the people of the state. And they've already shown you, while they're engaging in surveillance on the streets, while they're stalking in the middle of the night, like what they're doing at El Morado and Euclid, while I'm walking down the street in the entity that is mentally ill, they're stalking in traffic, they're stalking at the gas stall. This is the mentally ill population. This is, again, triggering what is martial law. This is the entity that was stalking in the middle of the night at the Ontario Town Square, okay? This is the entity that doesn't have any purpose, forming corporations that are stalking. That is what Vidco Foods is. Okay? This is an entity. It's the same with the neighborhood. They do not have a purpose. Their purpose is here. It is here to maintain surveillance. That is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:11 a.m. This is video documentation. Typically, I'm referring to videos that I'll show you the same fake sun over me at the same location. I'll do one in the morning, I'll do one in the evening. I'm showing you the entity's analytical frame point. Where the pattern of conduct is underway, the pattern of conduct is always underway. So the entity that is engaged in psychopathic pacing here, which is what you saw, two planes, 3 planes, all right, hovering, clearly, no destination, admitting that Southwest Amazon are stalking. i.e. the people are stalking. And this is the video that I will juxtapose with that. The entity that is stalking at Rosewood and Euclid Avenue is gang stalking, as I'm showing you, with regard to the specific environment. Whenever the specific environment is present, that's an indication regarding the pattern of conduct. Never mind my having 52 videos of the entity gang stalking me at that same location. I am also proving that Amazon Prime is gang stalking while Southwest Airlines and the entity is engaging what is U-turns in the middle of the street while they are clearly engaged in. This is not Jetsons. And this is an entity that's psychopathic and are clearly showing, while they don't have any choice, understand it's because they do not have a choice. They can't act like I'm crazy. They can't act like anybody's imagining what you're seeing in this video. So then you're seeing the mentally ill do in front of the whole world what is going to mandate martial law, what is going to mandate shutting down the airport, what is going to mandate the federal prosecution of airline industries engaged in terrorism in order to murder people, kidnap them, steal from them, criminally defame them. Okay, the entities engaged in this, and this is what I'm documenting, and I will attach that video of Amazon Prime stalking at this venue because Amazon Prime is a part of the same entity. And that's why the entity has ongoing commercial airline planes stalking at this level into the city of Ontario. This is distinct in the courtroom, which is within the 4 walls, because this is the courtroom. This is an admission that Amazon Prime is gang stalking. This is the entity that's engaging in what is the pattern of conduct while planes are hovering over. Where are they hovering? Over the people of the state that are gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. All right. It is currently 6:13, where it would also show, the evidence will also show that there are no scheduled flights, for example, Southwest Airlines. And Southwest Airlines, that is very much subject to what is very clear evidence regarding a takeoff from Terminal 4. And it will never include anything over here. And this is the prosecution of Southwest Airlines, which is the prosecution of all of those airlines that are gang stalking. Flying at various elevations from the same airport. This is the entity that's stalking. And this is the entity that is stalking. License plate 9 Apple Larry George 996. Stalkers. Stalkers that are on the roads and the highways are to be removed from the privilege it is to be on the roads and the highways while they are stalking, using dangerous machines, dangerous weapons are what the vehicles are while they are stalking in the path with the government. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:13 a.m. Pay attention to the people. Stalkers. Alrighty, this is the placement of the third party, that is an engineer light. under the fake sun and engaging in what is coming into the restroom, speaking to service, which is audible activity and presence in the path. On behalf of IHOP, that is gang stalking. I want you to see this evidence right here. This is the evidence that's going to have the entity put into mental institutions. Not only the demon that's flying the UPS plane, but the demon that is studying their device. This is what they're doing inside of the IHOP. And this is also psychopathic behavior while the entity is stalking by commercial planes, monitoring vagina in the bathroom, doing so as a gang act, gang of sexual violence. I just want to be clear, that's not a plane. They're flying at a low elevation, and this demon thought that you weren't going to see that. All right, the IHOP employees are subject to what is the criminal pattern of conduct. CENTAS is the long documented terrorist. CENTAS is engaged in stalking, surveillance, and they're pulled up right behind the bathroom where the sex offenders are walking into the bathroom. And this is exactly what I'm describing, okay? 31699 Paul 2. This is an employee and that third-party company, CENTAS, the corporation, is being prosecuted as a terrorist and a sex offender. And they're engaged in mentally ill behavior while their tactic of stalking with light is documented as well. This is under the fake sun at 7:07 a.m. where you saw the government that is monitoring my vagina through the employees of IHOP and the third-party company CENTAS in the city of Upland that's gang stalking and further into murder under a fake sun at what is A Street as an Apple and Euclid Avenue. If you'll recall my evidence a few days ago, the entity is flying over this building by helicopter while it is triggered by my documentation about Brightview, who was prosecuted by the fake sun being right here after 5 p.m. and the entity has the fake sun that is still over me where UPS is gang stalking. UPS is in conformity to a pattern of conduct. The entity that's maintaining detail pertaining to my vagina in the bathrooms throughout the state of California, everywhere that I am residing in private, and I am subject to surveillance. In other words, you're getting to the malice behind what is the activity creation, which is criminal activity that the people of the state share. IHOP is a sex offender, while the entity is stalking by planes, while the entity has a pattern of conduct and engages in more of that triggering and embarrassing criminal act. Because I caught it, the psychopaths engage in more of it. There is no plane activity that's going to be over here, and it's psychopathic pacing as well. Okay, they're engaging in a U-turn and flying in circles as the entity is maintaining criminal elements of monitoring concerning my vagina. UPS committed murder in Kentucky, and they're committing what is vagina monitoring in Upland, California, doing so in the specific environment. All right, this is the fake sun supposedly creating the shadow, and here's engineer light, which is impossible light activity. My shadow is appearing on the car, and the entity is engaged in this while cable is engaged in what is vagina monitoring, stalking. This is surveillance. This is what is behind the entity maintaining what is activity creation, stalking me in the bathroom. They're doing so on behalf of the airline industry, which is the homosexuals of the U.S. military who are psychopathic and going to be discharged and committed, and so are the people of the state. Okay, the Latino male that I'm documenting, 9 P.E.C., that third-party license plate, the white male, the employees are engaged in the sex offense that is committed in furtherance of murder, and in the middle of the street, this is the sex offender that's engaged in monitoring with the military that's stalking in commercial planes. So are the employees. He's monitoring my vagina while the employee is engaged in what is pacing in and out of the bathroom in the same way that the demon possessed, who are violent sex offenders. This is the demon. This is the national security threat of the demon possessed. The Jezebel spirit that's operating over a government that has been caught red-handed engaging in criminal activity. And because they are in fact demons who are in fact obsessed with stalking, now you have the ability to watch them engage in that. Is the truth proving the deity of Christ, the fact that the demon possessed are engaged in what is the practice of failed witchcraft. But that's the significance behind a fake sun that is still here. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 hours later is where the fake sun is over me while I'm standing in front of what is the law office of Mark Grossman, the sidewalk. That's where the fake sun is over me, and the entity stalking me by helicopter. This is the prosecution, the shutdown of the Ontario International Airport, while the city of Ontario is targeting in the city of Upland, which is the city of Upland targeting me. Okay, the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. in the specific environment in possible light, while sex offenders are spending the resources of companies to keep little old me, my vagina, under surveillance, stalking into the bathroom where the entity is engaging in that. And that's exactly all that they're doing inside of the Upland Public Library, where the entity is stalking, violating the private property rights of Mark Grossman in order to engage in what is stalking in the path. 9 PEC 014. This is the basis of being involuntarily committed. And that's what this Latino male, if he is also not subject to what is deportation, perhaps his mother, you're talking about his children, you're talking about his spouse, you're talking about any extended family, because the federal government is going into the household of the entirety of that entity that's gang stalking. So it's not just this person, but it's the entire household where this demon is engaging in the sex offense and exhibiting severe mental instability and ongoing determination to continue stalking while he parks across the street at what Mark Grossman likes to refer to as private property maliciously. He knows better because he's gang stalking. Nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaging in that, okay? Doing so while that entity is monitoring vagina. That's what the IHOP employee is doing, coming into the bathroom, talking about service, while CENTAS is in relevant position, monitoring to that, while the sex offender, the white male, the Latina female, these are the gang stalkers congregating with the venues, stalking me together with the employees, while they are engaging in that on behalf of the government that's in Upland, California, doing twists and turns while they are stalking in the path under the fake sun that is here 10 hours later. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It is currently, I just want to be clear, 7:12 a.m. and I'm going to get the license plates of the sex offenders. And IHOP is a documented terrorist, a sex offender. This is the P.O.C. Not only is IHOP guilty of the criminal pattern of conduct, engaging in what is terrorism, the criminal conspiracy to commit murder, IHOP is stalking as an establishment, and IHOP's employees are paid gang stalkers, facilitating terrorism. But they are also facilitating that pattern of conduct. This is a demon of the U.S. Marine Corps, while the entity is gang stalking me inside of the venue. This is the entity that's engaging in that. This is what the demons do that are obsessed with me, part of this cult. They engage in what is going inside and just ordering their pancakes while my vagina is exposed, and the demons are engaging in this P.O.C. Sex offenders, demons like the demon over here in the Honda Civic, while those are the cult that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. Just to give you an example, the entity that is part of the military, that's a cult, excessively gang stalking, and that's because they're demon possessed. P.O.C. 5 Bob Sam Nancy 033. This is the environment where the entity is stalking on the roads and the highways. That's not sunlight. All right, and the entity is keeping the fake sun over me in Ontario, California, when I am remaining at the Ovid Library, when I'm at the Stater Brothers. And the entity is keeping the fake sun over me at 7:13 a.m. Under all circumstances, the clear, cut-out pattern of conduct where the entity ongoing obsession. This is the obsession that is resulting in commitments. And this is the significance of my evidence. This Latino male is stalking inside of the IHOP, and he is coming back, returning to engage in what is stalking, surveillance, loitering in the path in the parking lot of Mark Grossman law offices, where I've also shown the fake sun morning and evening. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity's behavior when they are caught in my evidence and they are monitoring and witnessing themselves being exposed. And it is also evidence of their obsession. The entities, the demons' obsession, the government's obsession is an unlawful threat to my life, and this is what is triggering martial law. What you need to understand is that UPS stalking is prosecuting the Upland Police Department. The people that say it's stalking is prosecuting police department. The ending this while they are engaged in vagina monitoring. This is all centered around genitalia. This is a sick population, and this is one that is engaged in what is child rape. What they're doing to me, and I'm prosecuting this, is what they're doing to children who they are psychologically torturing, and they are engaging in what is violating them in ways which children are not advocating on their own behalf. All right, and that's what the Upland Police Department is a part of, while they're stalking me, sounding sirens all day long, concerned about the videos that I'm publishing on the internet. All right, this is the P.O.C. The employees inside of IHOP are subject to federal prison, and the corporation itself. This is that pattern of conduct, and I couldn't provide probative body of evidence. Okay, so this is where Brightview was stalking. I was across the street, captured that video. Brightview, and that same day after 5 p.m., I'm standing at the same location giving my documentation. Brightview was targeting while you can assess the environment. The fake sun is still here, and the entity flew right over my head on video, where the vagina monitor, CENTAS, and UPS, the city of Ontario, is psychopathic pacing. And I want to be clear, the same openness, willingness, the same flagrant disregard, referred to as impunity under the law, that is being so mentally ill that you have a blatant disregard for everyone seeing it. That's a threat to the public. The entity that's stalking like this in commercial planes in Upland, California, that's a threat to national security. Okay, and it's the same with the entity that is stalking in this manner, going out of your way, engaging in surveillance, because that's what he's doing, and that's what the evidence shows. And this is where I'm at in the evening. All of the entities' criminal conduct and the entity's engagement in that P.O.C. is speaking to that. So this is the demon that's engaging in what is vagina monitoring while the employees are pacing in and out of the bathroom, while he's engaging in that pattern of conduct, while the military is providing evidence against him. And this is the entity that's engaged in that. To wake up in the morning, to engage in what is monitoring my genitalia, is the product of severe mental instability. To engage in operations that are supposed to be the mask of where the government's engaging in criminal surveillance, and it is no mask, as I've ripped that off, and you're looking at bare bones mental. of a population, this is what is triggering martial law, okay? And the corporations that are going to be federally prosecuted as the demons that are maintaining what are acts of terrorism, conspiring the murder of American citizens and keeping them under surveillance and psychologically torturing them and then profiting from it. All right, this is the P.O.C. This is the third party that I'm referring to in the bathroom stall, and he knows it, okay? And he's coming back, engaging in what is that pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's testifying against him. He didn't even have to come back. He came back because he's caught. In the same way, the entity that's caught on video stalking in commercial planes, it's a criminal act in Ontario, all right? The entity's in Upland engaging in that. And then you're back to the Ovid Family Community Library at some point as though no one knows that you are stalking. And this is where you are analyzing everything that's coming out of the mouth of the proven stalkers who are the people that state the mentally ill population. This is the P.O.C. This is evidence of bathroom monitoring. It's 7:17 a.m. Is here gang stalking? That's American Medical Response gang stalking with a child. And they are doing so at the Upland City Hall, gang stalking in the parking lot. Psychopath stalking with light, maintaining ongoing surveillance, knowing exactly which is proven through the unnatural environment that's over me. The entity is maintaining a plane activity flying over the top of my head, engaging in what is ongoing amplified plane activity, which is demonic. So this is not just criminal activity. This is not just the government stalking. The government's engaging in what is demonic behaviors, mentally ill behaviors, psychopathic, antisocial behaviors. And this is the behavior. Gang stalking precedes what is murder that same entity commits. And murder is committed as a matter of public corruption. Not something that's a crime, that's discovered, then investigated, and reported on the news as something that's the entity that's gang stalking. It's a whole illusion. This is the fake sun that is still here, where the same demons of the city of Upland that are doing the exact same thing, stalking with sirens, just like Ontario police were last night while they are stalking the person that's prosecuting them. This is the entity that is demonstrating their need to be exactly where they're going, mental institutions. The entity is engaging in what is stalking with sirens. Upland police, who thinks that I care, I don't. Marcelo Blanco is being prosecuted. You are serving your own demise. The entity is stalking with sirens. Woo, woo, woo. Like, this is the entity that is tortured and terrorized and fearful. And they are projecting their fears onto me, gang stalking me, and all I do is document it. Upland police engage in what is criminal summoning as well. Stalking in the path while the people of the state are at the Upland Public Library. We're inside of this venue. The fake sun is still present at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're monitoring me inside of this venue where all the employees are going to prison. And the entity is engaged in what is monitoring audible activity under the fake sun in the engineer light that is monitoring me through the same method, criminal summoning. All right, this is the 9:41 a.m. where the entity is maintaining this fake sun. And a gang stalking parent, that's an unsafe oxymoron to be dealt with while terrorists and sex offenders are maintaining custody of children, access to children. But it's equally a threat. Understand, where San Bernardino County, they maintain adoption agencies, they maintain what are schools. The Upland School District is right here at this intersection. These are child rapists that are engaging in the sex offense of gang stalking. So this is all brought to the surface while the entity is gang stalking me. They expose themselves. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:41 a.m. That's criminal summoning. Alrighty, this is Signorama. You'll see these are the little symbolic ways, the subtle ways that the entity that is hostile is gang stalking. The corporate entity from Ontario, California is gang stalking and up under the fake sun. And what it actually makes for is a precise and very clear and accurate, with regard to justice, prosecution. This is the entity that's gang stalking. This is light activity under the fake sun. It's criminal activity. And they're doing it in the engineered environment. This is psychopathic pacing while demons are acting together. They're not individuals. They're all together stalking. And this is the engineer light. All right, this is what they're all in. Engaging that pattern conduct. This is where the entity is stalking by the military. This is where the entity is interfering with my access to the Wi-Fi. This is where the people of the state are monitoring, and I documented all these license plates. This is the prosecution of the city of Upland, the city hall, the gang stalking government body, while the people of the state are engaged in psychopathic and sexually violent criminal conduct, public corruption with the government that's flying and stalking by planes and helicopters, etc. And this is where the entities engage in that while they maintain things such as vagina monitoring. All right, I am here at 6 o'clock in the morning. It is currently 9:58 a.m. There is no natural environment. While Anthony is monitoring vagina in the bathroom, yesterday evening upon my exit at 7, right before 7, the entity's gang stalking under the fake sun, and he's engaged in criminal summoning. Just like American Medical Response was this morning, this fake sun remains here. I captured an image of it where Anthony, who was going to prison, he's parked out here, got his license plate, and he's engaged in what is harassing me because of the prosecution that I have already accomplished on the internet. So this is the sore losers who are demons, the Nephilim who are mentally ill, who have triggered martial law upon themselves, are engaging in what is ongoing acts of obstruction of justice is how that is legally referred to. This is P.O.C. The entities surrounding at the perimeter. I took pictures of the entity gang stalking along Arrow with light activity, another vehicle with light activity, AMR, psychopathic, Upland Police, psychopathic pacing with criminal summoning, while Signorama is maintaining presence right here at the fake, while the fake sun is remaining over me at the library. And these are demons that are engaging in monitoring under the guise of a company that's engaged in any provision of service. This is how Satan is engaged in what is monitoring, which is criminal under the law, and you are stalking. Stalking in the name of a corporation, that's where you're getting federal RICO. And this is treason by the U.S. that's gang stalking. And this is the government that's engaging what is targeting with the people of the state. Upland City Hall, that's the government that's engaged in criminal monitoring. All right, the government is being defunded. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:59 a.m. All right, this is the entity that's surrounded by that evidence, and the entity is also surrounded with the evidence that is serving to diagnose them collectively and as an entity that will be federally prosecuted and dissected every individual in the criminal case, but they are speaking and present, engaging in criminal activity as an entity. And in the court case, they will be prosecuted individually for the totality of crimes committed as an entity. These are the psychopaths engaging in surveillance and the park. Right? Like I've stated, this is the P.O.C. under the fake sun. All right, Satan taking many, many forms. Okay, that's the P.O.C. remaining over me in Ontario, California. All right, this is that demonic activity, P.O.C. All right, I want you to see evidence of stalking by an entity. Everybody goes inside, and I've documented the customary stalking by planes. The entity flies over by jet, whatever, over family community library, stalking by helicopter upon the hours of the library. Once they open, the entities engaging what is escorting me through the documented act of terrorism by aircraft aerial surveillance. The entity is going to regret that. It's on the record. But nonetheless, I want you to see this. This is the fake sun that I document on this same street in the evening. It's not going anywhere, okay? So it's not going to be in Florida. It's not in Florida now. You are not looking at the same light source in Florida. All right, but what I want to show you is how the fake sun that is over demons who are monitoring, who do not have a purpose. They're not here minding their business, not here to engage in anything other than what is stalking. I have an opportunity to engage in stalking under the fake sun at the library. That's what this is. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in that on behalf of the government. And the fake sun vacillates from the front entrance to the back entrance. And I'm going to show you that right now. And the engine or light inside does not move. This is the illusion. This is the crime scene. This is a stage. All the employees crossing paths. Everybody's out. This is the P.O.C. stalking in a book stack. Mentally ill behavior. Doing the same thing with knowledge about your vagina while they're engaging in that conduct as demons. And the fake sun is moving in real time. That's how I'm able to capture it now here. Okay. This is in a totally different side of the venue where the entity is engaging in these methods of targeting, which is psychotic. Okay, this is that P.O.C. The entity that's engaged in that mentally ill behavior is the entity that is going to be subject to being defunded. The employees in here are going to prison. You just saw one of the employees getting stalked, and they are doing so with impunity. They are indeed mentally ill. They're not doing anything absent-mindedly or coincidentally or ignorantly. The fake sun is proof of that. Not their facial expression where their failed act of, I'm not looking at you, I'm not talking to you, so I'm not targeting you. That's absurd, and evidence is speaking to the absurdity of what is the ability to simultaneously diagnose mental instability that is shared by a population. And in the spirit, what actually is happening is these are demons. These are creatures, and they're crossing paths one after another, after another, after another, as though I am on Euclid Avenue and it's traffic. These are demons that are pacing, and it's under the fake sun. This is the P.O.C. and that fake sun moving over me. Speaking of stalking, okay, the unheard of methods of stalking, which comes out of the pit of hell. And referencing the protocol is speaking to that which is not only wicked, it's what we would refer to as mentally ill behavior. Okay, and that which is mentally ill practiced as a population is a national security threat by those that do not have their own concern. They don't have any purpose. Their concern is to obsessively stalk and monitor, harass. This is P.O.C. It's 10:03 a.m. Alrighty, this is the entity stalking at the elevator. Adam Tuckerman, Joy, Ashley, under the fake sun in the afternoon as well, stalking in the building. And the entities engage in that while they're monitoring the evidence, including the vagina monitor, Anthony. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that. Engaging in gang stalking on the job is why you're going to prison.
I'm assuming you just write it down.
So what ¿qué pasó with the internet? Do you know?
They're just doing like maintenance for it, so City Hall is closed. So
Yeah,
they're
it's always
doing-
closed on Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's always closed on Friday.
So
I mean, except for the employees, I know, but it's not open to the
Yeah,
public.
they're doing maintenance over there. Do you have your card on you?
Yes, I do. So it's going to be out of service, or I guess unavailable, inaccessible, I guess, for what, an hour?
Allegedly.
Allegedly?
Yes.
Okay.
And then again this afternoon, around 2.
Is they doing like something? Did they give 4 notice before this?
They
did?
told us
Are you up there?
last night.
At CERC.
Let me give
Okay.
you my library card. Oh, so you guys anticipated that it wouldn't be operable?
We found out last night.
Oh, you found out last night. Oh, nobody told the. Okay. Alrighty. So Mr. Tuckerman is already aware then? of what was
Yeah.
happening. Okay. Just wanna make sure.
Okay, so here's that one for you. Here's the laptop.
Thank you.
So there is a specific version that we can use offline. It's just not saved. Hi.
You guys don't have any wipes on?
No wipes.
Probably not. It's okay if you don't.
If not, I can get some from you. It's not saved.
Oh boy. Okay.
So how much we rely on the internet.
Right. Seems like everything stops when the internet is inaccessible. I don't know that it's not working so much as it may be made inaccessible. Did they make a distinction?
Nope, not really.
No.
You know, they're gonna do what they want, so
Who is they? The city of
whoever's
Oakland?
doing the shutdown and they're putting in, I guess, an upgraded.
Oh, okay, I was wondering like why.
electrical
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, they're doing some sort of repair. Okay, toss. That'll work.
The disinfectants, right?
Thank you. All right, thank you guys.
So upstairs there is a version of
Okay.
that's
This is the entity that is monitoring. Signorama is engaged in light activity. The entity engaging in criminal summoning, which I have directly contending with the entity that makes the Wi-Fi, the internet, inaccessible, where they are monitoring still the same seamlessly. All right, so I just want to make sure that that is clear. The entity is under the fake sun, also very fearful in targeting and harassing while I publish ongoing evidence. And I am in June of 2026 with regard to the evidence that's being published on the internet, and it is no coincidence or it is speaking to the entity that is seeking to, under any circumstances that they can, which is pathetic, all right? You're supposed to be big and bad, serial killers, elite and scary guys stalking somebody in helicopter, and while I laugh at that and I continuously put in the evidence to put you away in a mental asylum on the internet, then you have what is a failure of the internet, which is an illusion. The entity is monitoring on a ceaseless basis, and any so-called malfunctions or errors that you have is a product of monitoring. So while it may be inaccessible to you, the entity is still utilizing it and monitoring you, keeping you under surveillance, and including your inability to access it is a product of that monitoring and that ongoing surveillance for whatever purpose that these psychopaths are seeking, if not anything, just to frustrate your purpose for whatever reason, whatever it is that they're doing, however it is you're under surveillance, whoever it is that's targeting you, if you're being targeted, you know, whatever that might be. I happen to be the target of the government that's not only caught, but they're being embarrassed while they're being prosecuted. And why are they focused on being humiliated? Because the entity is facing worldwide exposure for engaging in unprecedented criminal activity that have been maintained as conspiracy theories. up to now. Okay, not only is it a fact that you're engaged in criminal conduct, the reason as to why is because you're literally demons. Alrighty, and so the gang stalking mothers, the gang stalking families, the gang stalking lesbians, the gang stalking sex offenders that are monitoring, the gang stalking employees and whatnot. This is an entity that's engaged in that. This is literally about, this is targeting. All it is targeting, and it's about what it is that I'm doing, and there's no difference to that. The entity gives whatever explanation. It is entirely pathetic, and it is the same P.O.C, and I am being monitored, including while they claim that repairs or some sort of improvement is the reason for the inability to access what is the internet. Okay, the entities engaging in that, while they are, again, while Amazon is targeting me as I upload and publish evidence, the entity is engaged and is very fearful of and embarrassed by the evidence that is exposing them video by video, and they are very much aware about what's coming up next, about what's about to be published, and they are going to prison all the same. You're being deported all the same. You're losing custody of your little gang stalking children who are demons all the same. You are being prosecuted as a terrorist, not a police officer who's been quietly retired. You're being prosecuted and removed from law enforcement from any jurisdiction in the United States, all the same. Okay, with no package, no check, no compensation packages following a terrorist with no immunity under the law. That's the wealth of my evidence that I have for every video. While you're still engaged in criminal summoning and targeting me and claiming that I can't access the internet because you are making a repair, it is the same exact pattern of conduct. Just want to clarify that. This is P.O.C. This is the tactics of the demons who are conceding defeat. Okay, and that's what you're doing when you are stalking by helicopter, like I'm documenting on an ongoing basis, and nobody is seriously listening to or considering that the entity is merely suffering some sort of inability to access it when they are desperate to stop what they cannot stop. Okay, you heard what it is that I'm documenting. The entity is very much fearful. They fear Christ. These are demons. These are inferior spirits. They absolutely fear Christ, and they're also fearful because of the boldness with which they are being contended with, embarrassed in front of the world when Satan goes around speaking and conducting himself as though he is all powerful, which is a lie out of the pit of hell. That's why you're bothered and scared about me creating a Google account, concerned and triggered and fearful of me documenting, capturing a video. Okay, pulling out a helicopter, and that was supposed to be scary. That's the best that you've got. And everything that you're doing, not only am I laughing at it, there's a federal consequence for it. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:11 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in what is criminal monitoring. It's another method of targeting. It's relevant to the obstruction of justice tactics. Carissa and Anthony are going to prison. Anthony is under the fake sun in the evening yesterday when I walk out, and he's gang stalking and stalking in front of the elevator, and doing so while you're monitoring like that, and then claiming that the internet is unavailable and that's why I can't access it to put more videos up to put you in prison. It is not delaying any sort of schedule for raids, for sentencing, for damages, for everything that's happening with regard to justice. It is called divine timing, and the Lord God remains in control. While the entity has been distracted by me, targeting me in order that the demon possessed would be exposed. The entity has been engaged in what is focusing on the wrong person, trying to contend with the Lord God and getting distracted, thinking that you're coming up against me. I'm merely engaging in what is speaking as an authority against the one whom you have targeted, and I'm the one that literally you should not have targeted in the first place, telling me all your secrets, and it's going on the internet. It's going on the internet because your humiliation is key in what is disarming the enemy, and the enemy happens to be making itself what is the U.S. government engaging in criminal activity. All right, the government has engaged in prosecuting itself. This is that P.O.C. There's nothing that's slowed down by that. And there is, if you're not aware about how criminal cases go, about how prosecutions go in a courtroom, common sense is not left outside of the doors of the tribunal. Relevant details and extracting justice from the circumstances. That's exactly what's going to happen. And there is a federal response for every tactic that the entity has engaged in. All right, every tactic. And you're talking about every hour, every minute. And the entity, I just want to be clear, I'm speaking the reality, and the entity does not appreciate it. Now, these are demon-possessed people. That is a reference to their mental illness. So all they're focused on is me. They're just stalking me, obsessed with me, don't have any other purpose other than to monitor me. Okay? But understand that when they are serving these consequences, that's when it will hit them.
But right now they're not thinking about that. But there is a consequence for every day, every hour, every minute that I'm still documenting you gang stalking. And all the ways in which you sought to continuously engage in gang stalking, and all the failed efforts while you were still gang stalking, which you represented it as, which is nothing other than a concession to defeat. All right, and that's always been the point. Satan loses, and Satan has always been the loser, by the way. And in the end, Satan loses. Don't ever forget that, ever. The entity you're talking about, those that seem high and mighty and lifted up, that just means it's going to be a greater fall. They're going to plummet to an end. And more often than not, it is public to make an example out of those that have engaged in harming others and mocking God in doing so. That's what this government is guilty of. This is the Upland Public Library. The fake sun is over me. So everything that the entity is stating with regard to the status of the system, your inability, your devices don't work, or you can't access the internet, that's all an illusion. The entity is maintaining absolute control of it, in the same way that they're controlling the circumstances of the environment. All right, there is not a sun that's remaining over the Ovitt Family Community Library, which is exactly what I'm documenting when I'm at the Ovitt Family Community Library at this time. And the entity that is maintaining that environment and at the same time contending that the internet is inaccessible for whatever reason. This is the entity that is gang stalking, and that's a coward that's gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:15 a.m. Those are demons that know that they're being recorded. It's pathetic. Joy, Carissa, Anthony, Kiki, Ashley. The mentally ill that are inside working at this venue who are gang stalking under a fake sun where the internet is made inaccessible. It's not unavailable for use. It's made unavailable because they've made it inaccessible, are engaged in criminal summoning pursuant to monitoring. And it's about the entity that is obsessively stalking while trying to make the internet inaccessible. And Marcelo Blanco is being prosecuted on time, not slowing down anything. This is coloring the nature of the crime, the threat that the mentally ill operating ambulances, fire trucks, and police vehicles represent. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:35 a.m. criminal summoning, monitoring me inside of the Upland Public Library under the fake sun. Criminal summoning at 11:19 a.m. This is while the entity is making the internet inaccessible, while they are simultaneously threatening my life, engaging in psychological torture, and engaged in criminal activities, stalking. And also the facilitation of a population sharing in that criminal activity. So this is public corruption that the government's engaged in while they're engaged in psychopathic behavior, meaning they're just pacing around me while I'm inside of this building and the fake sun is over me at the Upland Public Library. And I'm surrounded by the serial stalkers who are going to prison, and they know they're going to prison, and they are willing to go to prison stalking me, which is an unlawful threat, while the mentally ill are gang stalking with the U.S. It's currently, again, 11:19 a.m. This is P.O.C. It's criminal summoning. Criminal summoning at 12:31 p.m. Stalking with light activity with Upland Police, 7RYD097. That looks like an old Caucasian or old Latino male. He's stalking in the path. Right here where Mariposa is stalking in the morning during the 9 a.m. hour at 300 North Euclid Avenue, while Upland Police, you will see in the image, are stalking on the roads and the highways. These demons are psychotic. These freak non-winning losers are stalking under the fake sun that's still over the same library, which means everything that I documented in the PDF where you can look at it yourself, look at all the defendants who are going to prison at the Upland Public Library, and it's a reference to the government, the mentally ill that are stalking by helicopter, that are stalking as a department, going in circles, getting dizzy, monitoring me, just driving around in circles all day long, sounding sirens, speaking to the non-necessity that is San Bernardino County Fire, the non-necessity that is the Upland Police Department, that are engaged in nothing other than vagina monitoring, stalking.
demons that are monitoring. They don't have a purpose. That goes for the departments. That's not law enforcement. They don't have a purpose, and they're being defunded. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:01 p.m. That third party is gang stalking, facilitation, massive facilitation. You like stalking me and helping hundreds of people at a time stalk me, that's federal prison. I just want to be clear on that. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:01 p.m. All right, license 9 ABC 272. Stalking with impossible light activity that moves all over the fake church where I'm standing, which is the entity that is stalking with that police department that's identified engaging in that mentally ill pattern of conduct. The demon-possessed, the Nephilim that are gang stalking as a city. That license plate is engaging in the P.O.C. And while they are crossing path just like the demons in that Ontario Police Department vehicle, impossible light swims across the building of the First United Methodist Church, impossible light activity. And it's the same targeting that all of them are engaging in at this intersection, and that department is engaged in. License 800 Henry 217 is stalking in the path. The mentally ill conduct under the fake sun is identifiable, where the entity is stalking with like mentally ill behavior. Okay, this is that P.O.C. and these are the demons that are going to be subject to being committed while you witness this pattern of conduct as I've exposed it, while the demons are monitoring you, and they are stalking while they are monitoring you. And while they engage in their criminal monitoring, this is the evidence that's also going to be used to have them involuntarily committed and put into mental institutions across the country. This is the P.O.C. I want to add that third-party license plate is relevant to federal prison, engaging with a stalking me with the police department, and you engage in that, which is an act of terrorism, in order to commit murder and kidnappings. They're the same demons that commit criminal summoning. They're not calling the police with regard to any criminal act that you have committed. They're targeting you in the same way that they're targeting when impossible light swims across surfaces while they are stalking on the roads and the highways, where the mentally ill are incompetent and have no place on the roads and the highways. It is a threat to the public. And that's exactly what the entity is exhibiting when you hear that amplified audible activity of a bunch of stalkers at I Street in Euclid stalking with that Ontario Police Department vehicle 1149. He's going to prison. P.O.C. P.O.C. That's impossible light activity that is moving across the face of the house while they are stalking in the path as you recognize the environment. Remember, I'm at what is 8th Street and Euclid, walking to Upland in the morning during the 7 a.m. hour, where Southwest isn't at I Street. It's flying over stalking me at Grove with United Airlines. But Southwest Airlines is stalking me with the Ontario Police, as you see that pattern of conduct. While the entity engages in levying war, engaging what is that stalking conduct together, terrorism and psychological torture, while you're being targeted by planes and helicopters and police who are demon possessed. The entity is engaging in what is stalking in the engineer light. And this, all right, is the demonic environment the demon possessed were maintaining yesterday, stalking with light. All right, gang stalking where they reside, while demons who are severely mentally unstable, who are lusting, bloodthirsty psychopaths conspiring the murder of an American citizen that they are stalking by place of residence, by traveling on the roads and the highways, by stalking in the path where they're occupying places. That's what 738 North Euclid Avenue represents. 8SYK 775. And this is equal with light, equally terrorizing, while the entity keeps a fake sun, which you can see does not remain at the intersection of I and Euclid, where the Ontario police are stalking me, north of this location. Okay, the entity is engaged. My shadows appearing on the car. That's speaking to the trajectory of light. This isn't sunlight. This is laser light. This is engineer light. And the entity is doing so while like I've stated, I am at this intersection in the morning where the demons are maintaining that light activity, engaged in surveillance, just like they were, and they are today, while I'm capturing equally criminal and mentally ill stalking. This is surveillance 9UZD 164. All right, and this is what the entity is doing, engaging in terrorism in the neighborhood where they live. And that neighborhood will be raided, okay? That's the P.O.C. Use of the communication device, just chilling outside in the facilitating venue. You're not free to engage in this, and this is not private property. This isn't private speech. This is in conformity to the gang stalking Ontario Police Department, who are stalking in the path as well. And fortunately for you, the pattern of conduct is conspicuous. In fact, the entity is engaged in such asinine conduct that is so mentally deranged, your 5th grade child can recognize a demon-possessed gang stalker. Where they are under a fake sun and they come out stalking you in plain view. 9UZD 164. This is the P.O.C. at El Morado and Euclid Avenue. And this video is juxtaposed with the stalking with light conduct that I documented yesterday, where this same entity is engaged in gang stalking. And while they are crossing path that is stalking on Euclid Avenue, Impossible Light is moving across the the house front, and that's why they're in the front line. All right, this is the P.O.C. Those that are in this country, this is why you're being deported. I just want to be clear. This is why the immigrants are being deported. This is why you're losing custody of your children. This is why coming across the border and having a baby is not going to anchor you here. This is exactly why. This is an entity that is mentally ill. The supernatural conduct of stalking in that environment, they're stalkers, and so is the Ontario Police Department. This video is showing you what that demon operating vehicle 1149 was engaging in, and it's a fail and trying to threaten the federal prosecutor. That's why he's going to prison. And you're going to prison, you're going to be subject to mental examination, sir. While you're witnessing, clearly watching my evidence, you're watching me sentence you in front of everyone else too. Your mental illness is a matter of public information, and your criminal activity is published for the feds, the medical professionals who are cooperating with the feds, to whom I'm blowing the whistle. And they are listening to every word that I expound upon with regard to the truth about your mental instability, your criminal engagement in conspiring my murder, and trying to frame me for criminal activity, for profiting from stalking me while you're wearing a police uniform that you are unfit to wear. That's why the people of the state are stalking, by the way. He's going to prison, and the people of the state are being prosecuted. This is triggering martial law. My shadow is reaching all the way over there. You see that? No sunlight is going to move across the store. That's the same P.O.C. When you see that, none of this is private property. This is the state system. That's the pattern of conduct. Okay, I just want to be clear. I'm not targeting anybody with the deportation is speaking to what is universally applicable. So I just want to be clear. You have the entity that's subject to deportation, and that's what I'm speaking to. You're going to remove as many terrorists as possible from the state. License 8RJW425, this is impunity, just stalking in your face. The entity is going to learn the lesson. When California is dealt with, nobody's going to be engaged in this sort of conduct, like these demons who are suicidal are. Coming in front of the camera, stopping right in front of the federal prosecutor, flying in circles and stalking in the planes where you are going to be civilly prosecuted for that. Those corporations that don't have a defense, just stalking right in the face, right here. The entities, I don't care if you live on the corner, they're not going to be doing this after I'm done prosecuting them. They're not going to be doing that anymore. This is the entity that has no regard for and that's because the government's engaged in criminal activity with them. The government is being put in its place, and so are the demon-possessed. And the entities engage in what is impunity, and impunity is going to be dealt with directly with regard to levying war by terrorists who are in no position whatsoever and they should feel terrorized to engage in targeting anybody in the U.S. with impunity, like the people that stay at El Morado and Euclid are. And that's going to be dealt with when they're raided, when they're deported, when they're put in prison, when they are left to live outside on the streets and you're not getting any check from the government. Nobody is assisting you. And this is the evidence informing those very policies, which are absolutely just and necessary. It will be dealt with comprehensively while they're targeting with impunity, with disregard, okay? Because everybody's going to disregard you when you're being prosecuted. P.O.C. It is currently 7:01 p.m. This is prosecuting that terrorist of the Ontario Police Department, that entire department that's stalking, and they are demon-possessed, a demon wearing a police uniform, and that's exactly what I'm targeting and making sure is eradicated. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 7:01 p.m. There's a fake sun moving with me. The stalkers are monitoring. This is called Stalking in the Path. It's very precise with regard to demonic activity, and it's the demonstration of mental illness. Michael GERKEN is the one that's being exposed right now, and he's the one that's prosecuted by this pattern of conduct underway by the Ontario Fire Department. This is also downtown Ontario luxury apartments. The defendant that is, again, gang stalking with the government. The entity is engaged in what is stalking in the path on this end, and also prosecuting Chevron, okay? They're monitoring. These are the defendants, 8RWM975, gang stalking with Michael GERKEN. He's being removed from position. He is being prosecuted as a terrorist. He has committed kidnapping with the stalkers of the Ontario Police Department, and they are still monitoring. AKLF 305, 9XAB 064, and stalking at a gas stall is also mentally ill behavior, as is stalking with light. That's what they're doing. Impossible Light is moving across the wall. That's a demon, and Michael GERKEN is engaged in criminal facilitation, 9 CRW 733. And what Michael GERKEN is doing, Chevron, I'm prosecuting you, okay? Your employees are gang stalking. Chevron, I am prosecuting you, okay? And what you are doing, Chevron, you are enabling others to do, and I'm going to prosecute you for facilitation as well. This is the P.O.C. This is criminal facilitation where the entity is gang stalking me. And gang stalking, Chevron, is gang stalking in furtherance of murder as a corrupt business targeting with the city of Ontario. This is That which is demonic under the law is addressed as what is corrupt and also a threat to the public, all right? This is hazardous for the American people and their safety. And this is the removal of a gang stalking fire department, just like San Bernardino County Fire, like Los Angeles County Fire and the Los Angeles Fire Department, stalking me in helicopters, stalking me in fire trucks throughout Los Angeles County. This is what Michael Gerken is doing. This is the street where the fake sun rises and sets. That is not sunlight. All right, they're monitoring with the fire department. That fire department is being prosecuted, and this is psychopathic. This is psychopathic criminal activity. This is where the entities engage in surveillance through the airlines. This is where the entities engage in surveillance by helicopter. This is where the entities engage in what is surveillance with stalking, molesting with impossible light, including at nightfall, where these stalkers engage in criminal summoning and impossible lights on the wall while you're engaging in what is criminal summoning over here. This is all on the record already. Michael Gerken is being federally prosecuted, and that is because this entity has not only engaged in conspiring my murder, i.e. gang stalking me, but because they are engaged in facilitation, and this entity committed kidnapping under the welfare and into the ongoing criminal conspiracy to murder and kidnap is underway while Michael Gerken, the pattern of conduct is being documented and he is being prosecuted. All right, this is the terrorist leader. This is the P.O.C. Lopez and Michael Gerken are sharing the pattern of conduct. This is surveillance by a exposed gang stalker, not a fire department, okay? And they are incompetent, as I am proving mental illness and criminal activity. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:16. Like I documented, Sarah's Regis Group stalking with light. Understand Michael Gerken is engaged in stalking with light with the state acting directly. That's what this is. And so the documentation I captured yesterday, sexual assault and battery, the people of the state are engaged in the same P.O.C. on behalf of the city of Ontario. That is showing you that the city of Ontario is being federally prosecuted for criminal facilitation, public corruption, and concert with the people. That's what this is. That video evidence is already on the record. All right, that's P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing while they're coming up and down Euclid Avenue where the fake sun rises and sets. This is all that they were doing at Upland Public Library where the fake sun remained, as I documented, before 10 o'clock, and I walked out at 7, and the fake sun still stayed there. This is stalking. This is the P.O.C. These are vagina monitors that spend far too much money on emergency vehicles, and all they're engaged in what is sexual violence, and that's why it's being defunded. Paul Leon is being federally prosecuted for this. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:17 p.m. as you are taking what is a tour of public corruption, which is removing Paul Leon, and also not just removing him, he is being federally prosecuted for conspiring my murder. This is the P.O.C. All right, the demon in vehicle 1149, he is indeed going to prison. He's engaged in the gang stalking that I'm subject to coming from Upland to Ontario, and this is the same department. He's going to federal prison for stalking. That department's stalking me by helicopter. That department is using city-issued police vehicle stalking under the fake sun and at nightfall under the fake moon. He is indeed mentally ill, as is his co-defendant that is stalking a woman at night by helicopter with a group of co-defendants that are also stalking, and this is supposed to be some means of psychological torture. That's how it's going to be prosecuted. But this is an entity that's going to be ironically committed with this very criminal pattern of conduct. The demon operating vehicle 1149 is going to prison, and that is evident regarding a pattern of conduct where the entity is stalking by police, fire, and ambulance, and the hallmark of stalking by helicopter. And the entity engaged in this, as I documented, by helicopter, as I'm publishing the evidence that this entity is very fearful of. Do not misconstrue what this is. This is a cry for help. This is an open admission regarding closeted psychopaths who are violent sex offenders and child rapists who engage in criminal activity by abusing government positions in concert with a corrupt population, who are engaging in stalking in psychopathic manners conspicuously, like you see here. In the engineer light walking your dog is the P.O.C. That's also a demon. The entities engaging in this conduct together, and this is the entity that has triggered martial law. And I want you to recall the demon operating vehicle 1149 because he's going to prison. Stalking someone like the Ontario Police Department, like the state of California is doing through what are stalkers masking themselves as law enforcement, they are being disbanded. They are being federally prosecuted as terrorists, and they are not engaged in the execution of the duties of officers. As the ongoing pattern of conduct, which is the hallmark of stalking by helicopter, coexists with that ongoing targeting. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing, and that's what that demon was doing on Euclid Avenue under the fake sun. Pacing up and down. He drove north on Euclid Avenue, crossing my path under the fake sun, and then he engaged in what is driving south, which is psychopathic pacing. The entities engage in this while they are proven to be stalking me, and Leo is over here. Leo's going to prison. Okay, you see Leo? Leo's going to federal prison. He is stalking. This is not engaging in what is being a security guard. And he is gang stalking at what is the Ontario City Hall. Paul Leon is being federally prosecuted while I'm showing you the pattern of conduct, the criminal activity of a municipality. All right, who uses emergency vehicles, uses their government positions in order to engage in and commit criminal acts that they commit in order to commit things such as murder. These are murderers and serial killers. These are cult members. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity doing so under the fake moon. Understand, this is not just criminal activity. This is diagnosis by prosecution. All right, and their co-defendant, the Ontario police that are stalking me in these police vehicles, every single last one. I captured them on video. I am going through the point of capturing that evidence while Southwest Airlines is stalking. Southwest Airlines is stalking here as well, and Southwest Airlines is stalking at I Street in Euclid. That's a far cry from having anything to do with the legitimate operations of the Ontario International Airport. We have long passed that threshold. The Ontario International Airport is being shut down, as is Paul Leon being removed from office when you're subject to terrorism outside of the doors and inside of the Ontario City Hall, any city hall that is not supposed to be engaging in terrorism, which is what this is. P.O.C. Alrighty, the entity is engaging in what is stalking, and that's what I'm documenting on an ongoing basis, where the entity is obsessed with my vagina. It is evident through the environment that is speaking to a bunch of Looney Tune cartoon characters who are stalking in this absurd manner. They will be permanently landing planes and helicopters. They will not be operating public transportation. They will not be in law enforcement, in the medical field, in the legal profession. They will not have access to children like they do now, engaging in criminal activity. They will not be sitting on the bench criminally defaming American citizens like this entity did under the Baker Act and the Welfare Institutions Code when they were stalking the entire time. That demon in vehicle 1149 is going to prison. This is P.O.C. So is Leo. Leo's going to federal prison, and I'm prosecuting you, Securitas. I'm prosecuting University of Laverne's not keeping any accredited status. John Stewart Company is being prosecuted. GL Partners is being prosecuted. Ontario Town Square Townhomes. And so is the Metro 102. So are the gang stalkers of Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. That's Sarah's Regis Group. So is Wells Fargo. They're gang stalking at the bank, engaging in transactions with regard to that P.O.C. Serial stalker that engages in a battery at that fake church. You'll see him in all of my documentation, stalking all the time. He's going to prison. All right, he's homeless, and he's also a drug addict, and he's going to federal prison, gang stalking on a serial basis. This is P.O.C. This is pacing. While you see one demon with the dog walking in one direction and another demon with the dog going in the opposite direction, that's pacing, and so is this. This is pacing. All right, with light activity. The entity is exhibiting, I don't have to say anything because you could just look at the video of flying in circles by helicopter. This is psychopathic behavior. The entity is being committed. They're being involuntarily committed. And this is what's going to happen to you, any of you in the United States, where you first engage in a program of psychological torture. You're going to find yourself in a mental institution because that's what's happening to these defendants. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:23 p.m. Alrighty, this is the pattern of conduct. This is analogous to what you saw Amazon engage in. As you publish evidence about the stalker, the entity engages in what are suicidal attempts regarding what is going to result in what is their detriment. This is a stalker that's going to prison, and they know that. This is the fake son. This is a demon, and it's a terrorist. And this is the prosecution of you, Lopez. You are being prosecuted as a terrorist leader. 1716532. This is the demon that's gang stalking where the fake son is present in the morning, and he is engaged in psychological torture. That's a Latino male, 49. And he is specifically stalking. You see the fake son remains stationary, and he's going north up the street that I went this morning when this fake was over me at this same exact intersection, where the natural environment does not exist, speaking to what a specific means of trying to engage in psychological torture. That department is doing so with the people of the state, which is also why he is going to prison. The entity's doing so, which you will see that I published today, is the entity gang stalking me, which is evidence that is relevant to putting that demon in prison, and the people of the state that are gang stalking, including the defendants at the First United Methodist Church. The entity is stalking me by helicopter during the 5 p.m. hour, which I juxtapose regarding the video that I published today during the 9 a.m. hour. We're at this same venue. It's a venue, not private property. It's the crime scene of surveillance, which is no coincidence while stalkers are monitoring on the roads and the highways. And that's what the Ontario Police Department is engaging in. And this is the entity that's engaging in that pattern, prosecuting Lopez and Mike Lorenz and Derek Williams. The entity is engaging in what is kidnapping. This is what I expounded upon in the body of evidence published today regarding June 16, 2022, as I published June 16, 2026. This is the entity that's monitoring, and the entities engage in what is suicidal conduct when they intend, the criminal intent behind it is to threaten and harass because they are hostile to what I'm publishing. And there's no coincidence that I'm publishing evidence about the entity stalking and kidnapping and engaging in that while I'm also at the location where they're engaging in that criminal stalking. All right, and that's the pattern of conduct where you're present at 9 in the morning under the fake sun, and the fake sun is still here at 6:45 p.m. This is the entity that's maintaining, remember, the fake sun at 6:48 p.m. at the Ovid Family Community Library as well, where the two are not coexisting. It's also remaining over me at that same time at the Upland Public Library, where the Ontario police are stalking with he's going to prison. Southwest Airlines is being federally prosecuted for kidnapping with that department, and this is the entity in that P.O.C. This is the intersection of I Street and Euclid. The entity's doing the exact same pattern in the morning. The same department is stalking at this intersection while I'm engaging in what is creating video documentation of stalking with Amazon Prime again in the evening right here at this street. And the entity is engaging in this with regard to what is Title 18. Federal stalking, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. Federal stalking committed with the intent to obstruct justice, meaning this is a stalker, a vagina monitor, a co-conspirator of murder, one that tried to frame me for murder and has engaged in defaming my character as a corrupt police department that does that in order to kidnap you and keep you indefinitely in a mental institution, which is what the Ontario police are guilty of, all right? They're doing so pursuant to monitoring evidence that I published today. And that ongoing evidence is relevant to that demon who is going to prison. That's relevant to the threat that the Ontario police pose and that the entity, the First United Methodist Church, poses while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. At this venue, I'm subject to terrorism by helicopter. I'm subject to ongoing criminal surveillance and stalking by the people of the state. 8 Sam Queen Xavier 239, 8 Mary Sam Robert 981. This is federal prison as I'm reciting their license plates. Their entity is engaging with a stalking with the police, 9YIM 550, and stalking with the police and furtherance of murder is the entity that is subject to not only martial law but federal prison. Okay. This is that P.O.C. where the entities engage in that P.O.C. as you use it, literally facilitating view to North Euclid Avenue, and I as in Indiana, which is where I'm at right now. Ontario police are going out of their way and this is relevant to the sex offenders that are the Ontario Police Department, keeping my vagina under surveillance. They suffer severe mental instability. They are the Nephilim. They are the demon possessed, and they engage in years of documented acts of terrorism and retaliatory conduct while they are stalking me as they are motivated, engaging in that because they are monitoring the evidence that I published in this investigation. And that's the entity that is going to federal prison for the June 16, 2022 kidnapping and the ongoing gang stalking that they are still engaging in years later. And that demon is going to prison. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:47 p.m. This is the engagement. He's stalking. This is the entity that's stalking, surrounding. That's the pattern of conduct. There are no coincidences under the fake sun. And this entire department is surrounded with evidence on this street, sunrise until sunset. They're all going to prison, every single last one of them. And this is the entity that's going to be committed, not just going to prison. They're going to mental institutions, and they're going with their co-defendant, Tracy Banks, with whom they engaged in defaming my character while you were stalking. Oh, you don't have any authority under the Welfare and Institutions Code. That's the entity engaging in the pattern of conduct, criminal defamation. And this is psychopathic pacing while they're engaging in mentally ill behavior with Southwest Airlines that maintains no flights from Terminal 4. They are targeting with the airline industry. That is going to be federally prosecuted. That's vehicle 1149, P.O.C. 6:48 p.m. Alrighty, psychopathic pacing. I just want to be clear. The mentally ill have worked very, very hard at achieving what is mental institutions and involuntary commitments as the default means of prosecuting domestic terrorists that are with law enforcement and with the corrupt courts and in the medical field, where they are abusing positions and they exhibit the instability, the psychopathic disorders of those that are engaging in pacing and stalking with impossible light and then greeting you as a patient in the hospital where they're kidnapping you. The entities has worked very hard at achieving this, meaning getting the evidence rising to the level where you are seeing that the psychopathic disorder is very real. And it is something that the entity cannot control. And they are engaging in what is mentally ill behavior that exceeds criminal activity. And the entity is doing so while they are aware that it's being documented. That is speaking to the inability to refrain from exposing your instability. That is speaking to an inability to control yourself, an inability to stop engaging in that which you already know is unlawful. And when you first sought to engage in that and try to depict someone else's character as one who is just imagining it, now when we've passed past that, and that's clearly not the case, and you are absolutely guilty of the allegations, proven to the degree that exceeds beyond a reasonable doubt, then you are seeing what is bare bones psychopathic behavior, delusional behavior. Behavior exhibiting one that is in denial about the level of instability that is exhibited while they refuse to cease engaging in that which is not even serving the original purpose for that which they sought out in the first instance. It's not even serving their purposes anymore. In fact, it's impossible. The whole world is watching. There will be no sacrifice of Erica Spencer. In fact, the case is already over. I am documenting because the entity is going to compensate me. I have cases against hundreds of businesses, if you will, and you're talking about all of the creative ways in which that can be prosecuted. And there is, I want to be clear, because it is domestic terrorism, because it is gang violence, this is not a matter with regard to what typically courts are concerned with, which is being efficient, and also making sure that you're not double dipping. This is not the concern when you're talking about John Stewart Company being prosecuted for damages, and it is just that they are compensating for damages, and also GL Partners compensating for damages, and also Abernathy Capital Management compensating for damages, and also the municipality. These are the people of the state. They are all engaging in the pattern of conduct individually as an entity and also collectively as that entity. And the double dipping issue is not relevant with regard to gang stalking. All right. So this is why I am documenting, because this entity is going to compensate, and there is a creative ways in which to prosecute this. And the entity, it is designed as a matter of justice. When you are not dead and the entity does not accomplish murdering you or driving you insane. In other words, what actually is happening, the entity tortures people to the degree to where they are not able to compose themselves. And that's not the product of mental illness. That's the product of being traumatized. That's the product of being harmed, being treated as something that is less than human, which the demon-possessed, the Nephilim, the mentally ill are engaging in. And they do that because they seek to drive others to the mental state that they're in, the point of despair. That's what the demon possessed that are doing things like stalking in helicopter. That's what they feel every day. This is their experience. This is why you would engage in stalking someone in the spectacular ways that the mentally ill are, such as stalking, psychopathic pacing for 6 additional minutes. That's what I documented. I took a picture of the entity after I completed that video at 6:23 p.m. and I believe 6:29 p.m. This is when this very disturbed individual that represents the entire entity. This is mental illness by the military. You need to understand the threat that is posed when this mental illness is calling itself the U.S. military, and they are going abroad, and we are being fed propaganda about what is the state of affairs between us and some other country, even an ally. And we are told one thing: you actually do not know what is going on when you are looking at the evidence of unstable creatures who are engaging in targeting an American citizen. And not only are they targeting, they're targeting someone that has already proven that they're guilty. So you're talking about what is psychopathic behavior. Okay. This is an entity that goes outside of the United States and engages in all manner. What you cannot even actually, you can only imagine the ways in which they're engaging in lawlessness and attacking people and bloodshed and animalistic, barbaric behavior when there is no one there. They're doing this in front of all of the world in the United States. While somebody that is trained in the law, this is a very absolutely competent investigation, and this is not gloating. There's no place for any sort of ego here. This is a competent investigation, as it should be, in order to prosecute and protect myself. And I am certain of that because I'm protecting my own self and proving guilt of a government that's engaged in what is the unthinkable. So it has to be competent in order to withstand what is the entity that first thought that because it's the government, it's impervious. And that's a lie out of hell as well. The government has been found to be a discombobulated, tactless, uncontrollable wild beast with not any remote sense of how to engage in what is organized criminal activity in any manner that is not exhibiting what is not only worthy of being locked up, being penalized and being put in prison, but being put in institutions. Okay? Like people that can't control their bowels, people that consume their bowels. This is what the entity is exhibiting when they're engaged in psychopathic pacing by helicopter. And so are the people of the state. Pacing around with their children, pacing around with their dogs, They're all pacing around in a cartoon environment with multiple shadows, and they're all equally mentally ill. This is the creatures, this is a population of those creatures who do not have a purpose. You don't have a purpose when you're crawling into helicopters to stalk one person. And that one person couldn't be the least concerned about you and is engaged in what is documented, capturing every second of it on video and putting it right on the internet where there is no mystery, no controversy with regard to what is going on and who is doing what. And not only that, but the history of lies that psychopathic entity has stated in order to get away with criminal activity that they typically accomplish amongst the ordinary targeted individual. That is not me, okay? And this is advocacy on behalf of that ordinary targeted individual who shall never be defamed by fecal-eating demons like the ones stalking in helicopters, okay? What you hear in the background is serving to prosecute Leo. Leo that's engaged in documented acts of harassment. Leo's been doing it on behalf of that entity. Leo's mental illness is shared with the demon stalking in that helicopter. The same mental illness is exhibited while he's stalking me with light, while he's driving a little golf cart, and I'm being sexually assaulted and battered, molested with impossible light activity. That's the evidence of mental illness, and it is on video. And Leo shares that disorder, which is a threat to the public, with the mentally ill that are on video stalking me by helicopter. And I want to document that it was for an excess 6 minutes while the entity, and remember, the entities engage in this the moment that I start capturing them on video, the moment that I start exposing them, which again, the entity is very sensitive to what it is that I say about them. They worship me. They worship my opinion. They are triggered by what it is that I expose about them and the way in which I expose it. The entity starts having a psychotic break, which is a threat to nationals. It's a threat to American citizens. If you're engaged in that sort of conduct, you're talking about what is an unstable population capable of engaging in all manner of violence and spontaneous acts that are a threat to other people and themselves. Okay, very dangerous, highly suicidal, and interested in self-harm and the harm of other people. Okay, but the entities engaged in that, I want to document psychopathic pacing for an additional 6 minutes, and that is shared by the people of the state who engaged in what is a group of them just walking back and forth, pacing all together. This is the living dead who are obsessed with me. They're a bunch of mummies just pacing all around. And they did that while the entity flew around in circles for another 6 minutes. Okay, serving no purpose, and then you fly off. This makes your blood pressure go down. This makes your heart rate slow down. This makes you feel better. Does it cure your psychopathic urge to want to go stab someone 29 times? What exactly does the entity call itself accomplishing when it is providing this evidence of its need to be put involuntarily into mental institutions? That is something that medical professionals can study more and look into when they are confined and you are encountering them during your weekly meetings. But the entity is engaged in absolutely deranged behavior, and this is speaking to what is substantiating the involuntary commitments. And this is the same exact entity. The demon that is operating vehicle 1149 of the Ontario Police has the exact same disorder. And this is the ability to do that. It is not individualized. It is not personal, because it is a pattern of conduct. And this is speaking to what is the uniform environment. That is how it is not uniform. It is not individualized. It is a pattern of conduct. The only thing that is specific about them is that they have different names. It's a different person, but it is a pattern of conduct, and this is an entity that is being diagnosed while they are engaging in what is obsessing over me and exposing to me, as I expose to you, severe mental instability that is a threat to national security. This is that P.O.C. The entity is engaging in this while they are aware of impending doom, indictments, raids, court cases, summoning to court, and this is what the entity is deciding to do. All of this is relevant to diagnosing mental instability, what they know and the decisions that they make moment by moment, with the knowledge while they are watching their prosecution. This is something the government never anticipated, and it's happening in HD, and it's happening not only to them before their eyes, but it's happening before your eyes. And this is informing how the medical professionals are assessing mental illness, because you are mindful and cognizant and considering what they knew when they made the decisions that they made and engaged in the actions that they took. While the entity engages in this psychopathic behavior, this sexually violent conduct, and seeks to criminally defame the one whom they're targeting, because the ordinary target individual doesn't have evidence of it and cannot in any common sense manner put words to sick, demonic, animalistic, barbaric behavior, which is normal. You're talking about the entity has conceded that it is mentally ill because it's proven you are in fact engaging in this mentally ill behavior. And since that is the case, you have already established that one that is engaging in that should absolutely be subject to being committed, being put against your will for the protection of others and for your own protection. All right. So that you can get the attention that you need. You can get the help that you need. Okay. And this is for the benefit of society. And this is part of the healing of that community that is sick. The entity is engaging in what is this pattern of conduct and is admitting that their pattern of conduct is deranged and mentally ill, worthy of being put in mental institutions. And they do that while they are engaging in it, but they are counting on that and abusing positions that they hold while it is not proven with evidence. Since it is proven with evidence and it is not anyone's imagination, this is an entity that has already addressed the fact that they are mentally ill by virtue of engaging in their pattern of conduct, which is a matter of tangible evidence. This is the P.O.C. The entity engages in what is an additional 6 minutes of psychopathic pacing, doing so over me. This is relevant to the entity that is threatening my life, stalking me in police vehicles, stalking me as a police department, stalking me as a fire department, stalking me in planes and helicopters, and stalking as a population who exhibit what is being unhinged and unpredictable behaviors that pose a threat to themselves and society. All right. This is speaking to, in other words, what shall be martial law. It is currently 8:42 p.m. This is P.O.C.